All right guys, so I've got a 2005 Handrail Cummins. I'm doing the camshaft, replacing tappets, and I've always seen videos on people doing it by fishing with a string and a plug, and that to me just really seemed like a big pain in the ass. So what we've got going on here is a 1 3/4 inch piece of straight exhaust pipe, cut straight in half. I then used a 1 7/8 socket, and I laid it on a flat bench, and I ran that 1 7/8 socket with a hammer all the way through the half. It opened it up wide enough to set inside the tray. The one thing that it did do was kind of bow the tray in a slight arch. So if you'll notice, to get the rear tappets out, you will have to lift the back of the tray. But that does actually end up helping us out. And so now what we're doing instead of fishing is I went and I got the 1/2 inch dowel, the 48 inch section's a 1/2 inch dowel. Took a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch drill bit, drilled little 1/4 inch holes into the end of my 48 inch sections of dowel, and then took the rare earth magnets from, I got them at Menards. These little guys, comes in packs of 80, and put 3 or 4 in the end of my pieces. I even made a couple of push rod or tappet dowels with magnets in the end for some of the ones that I pulled out that just would not stay on the end. So the way that we're doing it right now, that's been working the whole way through, that's not fishing, is we've been taking and using the magnetic end. And then I have another really small dowel that I use to turn everything. Have my assistant here hold this. So I'm having him take the 1/2 inch rod. I test fit everything before I put it in, just so that I know it's gonna fit easy, but I'm gonna grab it, get my assembly lube all up on here. As you guys probably already know, not super worried about that. What I would normally do is, if he was helping me, I would have him take this, drop it through whichever hole I'm shooting for, and to where I can see it, so that it would be like a reference while I'm looking down that hole. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this tappet, and I'm gonna lay it in here flat like this. Because when I pulled these tappets out, they would drop into the tray like so, and then I would hit them with the magnet right here at the base and just tip them out this direction. And again, like I was saying, you have to kind of wiggle that tray around to create enough clearance for that tappet to fall free of its bore. But once we go from there, we're gonna pull that tappet out in the same fashion that we pushed it in. So the tappet, I'll bring it out topside. And when I go to push this tappet back in, I'm gonna be looking down the bore. I'm gonna have him give me a reference, look down the bore, see where that stick comes down. And then I'm gonna push this thing in, kind of lifting up. At the back of my stick, I'm trying to lift this up. And when I get it to where I want it, I take the small stick at the bottom, and while still lifting up the magnetic top stick, I rotate it over inside of the bore, like so. And then using the tray and the magnet, I shimmy it and play it back and forth until it goes up into its bore. I lift the tray, and I have the guy running the sticks set it, and then we kind of, in a series, start to set it inside of the tappet. And then once he's got himself engaged in the top of this tappet and he can kind of lift it up out of the way, all I'm gonna do is put the small stick underneath, and that actually closes the clearances up to where this thing can't come out of the bore. It's not engaged a lot, but it's enough that it won't come out. He can get his stick in the top. And then just for good measure, once he kind of pulls it up out of the way, I'll get my magnet off of it. And then what we did, we went to the old Home Depot and got a 4-foot section of handrail. It is 1 7/16 by 5/8 handrail. As you can see, it's a nice perfect shape with a big flat piece on top. And all I'm gonna do is set this into that tray, slide it in back, gently touch it to the freeze plug. And then you can go from there and really hard set your stick into the tappet. That way you know it's not gonna come off. When I'm doing them individuals, I'm bringing them up, going a rubber band from the injector to the stick, and then once they're in a pair, just using a zip tie and holding them together so that we can keep them all up out of the way. And this right here is working much faster than dropping a strain, fishing a plug, trying to fight the plug. And then the other thing is, you know, from a lot of what I was seeing, people were like pulling the tray out and letting the fucking tappet free hang on the end of the plug. And that to me is far too big of a gamble. And then also using this stick, this was like an $18 piece of wood and a $20 piece of exhaust pipe. So 40 bucks for the tool. This right here keeps me from ever having to rotate my tray, keeping it from, you know, being likely that I'll drop a tappet. Because like I said, like unless you wiggle this thing around, the tappets won't even come clear of the bore. So you end up with plenty of fucking clearance and extra space. So there's no extra space, actually. So we're gonna set this camera up somewhere, and then I'm just gonna fish one in. And we're gonna see if I can make it look as easy as the rest of them were. And then I'll show you here when I'm looking down the bore, he's gonna drop his reference, and then I will also count the spaces to figure out what cylinder. So if I know I'm shooting for cylinder 3, I'll count 3 voids down and then stand my tappet up inside the 3rd void. And that's been working out really well for us. So, see what I'm doing. I'm gonna run and I'm gonna stick right on the top. Take it in here, running the small one along the bottom. Look inside. Now I'm gonna kind of just stand it up. It's actually more of a pain in the butt too once you get in really close with you're slinging these long sticks around. Not used to slinging a long stick. And so there you see, kind of found the bore. And here, like, I'm gonna kind of shimmy it. And there you see the tray lift up. And as I run this back and forth, you can see it start to move up the bore. So now I'm gonna set it there. The small stick underneath it's gonna keep it. I'm gonna take my stick from the top, feel my way in here. Of course, this is gonna be the part I can't find. You can see that I'm into the top of the tappet. Pick it up. Now that the tappet is up into the bore, I can pull my magnet straight back and off. Put these sticks down in there. Push against it, kind of help it up out of the way. Get this shit out. And then from there I can take my handrail, especially for the ones in the back where I just want to be sure. And now, if you look right there along the top, you can see the tappet touches the top on the flat surface of the handrail. I set it nice and deep, bring it up till it clicks, and then I'm going to put a rubber band on top. That's all she wrote. All right, so I'm gonna set this up so maybe you can watch maybe the way I'm working my hands or something, but outside of that, you really can't see on a camera. And I'm not gonna play the game of trying to show you and try not to drop this thing in. So I'm gonna hook up on the top of my tappet, get my magnet as close to the top as possible. And I'm just gonna feed these in here. I got my reference dropped back down inside the bore. I'm gonna run my tappet into my reference just so it gets easy. And then I'm just gonna tip it up. Simple as that. pick the back of the bore up. Can you drop me a reference really quick? Oh shit. Stay upright, you little son of a gun. Oop, come out. Come straight back. Now. Okay, so now he's pushing on it. So set it. Okay, he's partially in. He's gonna stand it up. I'm gonna run my small rod underneath. So now that closes the clearance, and now set it again. Okay, now lift it up into the bore. I'm gonna help him from the bottom with my small stick and my magnet. You lifting? Stuck. Okay, so now, once he's up in the bore, now I can break my magnet off without pulling him off. I'm gonna pull both of my sticks out, take my handrail, slide it right down into the back. He's gonna drop. It's gonna use that flat surface. He's gonna press nice and hard. And now, I'm gonna come back in here just like any other time. Now that I've had the chance to press down onto my handrail, I'm just gonna nice and bring it up till it clicks. And then just gonna take my zip tie. I know the zip ties are a little bit overkill, but whatever, I don't hate it. Boom, she done. And now I'm just gonna pull my shit out, do the next one. So that's my alternative to fishing. All right, just one last time. I'm gonna cover what the tools were. 1 3/4 straight exhaust pipe, cut straight in half. 1 7/16 socket. Just laid it in there and just hammered the entire length. It did end up with a bit of a curve in it that I hammered most of out. But again, when you were inside the engine block, you did have to play with it just a little bit. If you don't hammer this out, that 1 3/4 does not have enough width to allow the tappet to drop out of the bore. My set rod is a piece of handrail from Home Depot, about 4 foot of it. It's the 1 7/16 by 1 5/8 handrail. This thing worked perfectly for me not having to turn anything over. And then a 48-inch section of 1/2-inch dowel. A small section of, what size dowel is this? 3/8 dowel. I made 2 long magnet dowels just in case I had to do any fishing or retrieving or anything. There's those magnets again from Menards. Some 5-minute epoxy to hold the magnets in the end of the fucking rods. Obviously I made a bunch of these. I test fit every single one before I put the tappet in, so I would test fit the stick to the tappet just so that there was no, maybe it fits, maybe it doesn't. That made life a lot easier. And then there's like an example of putting those in the end. Other than that, fucking too easy.